Who would have thought this New Mexico Lobos team would be the real deal? First season for Jason Eck at the helm for the Lobos, and they're 2-1 on the season and pretty much shut out UCLA in the second half. 35-10 your final score, New Mexico over UCLA. The Lobos from the get-go were trying to win this game. The first drive, they tried two big home run plays. Bankston gets hit in the helmet with the ball, or else it would have been a touchdown. After the first two drives for Lobos and then UCLA, 3 and out. Lobos, off the back of Scottre Humphrey, just grind their way into the end zone. Go up 7-0, defensively solid. Nico couldn't get anything going in this game. Forcing stops on UCLA. Lobos come right back around, again, utilizing Humphrey, but also finding their way in the passing game. Jack Lane drives them down. They get a passing touchdown. They're up 14-0 on the Bruins early in the second quarter. In the best drive of the night for Nico and the Bruins, they find a way to answer and score back. It's a 14-7 game, and from there, it's all Lobos. Lobos had a couple hiccups, mostly on the punt return. Fumble, give a turnover to UCLA, and they really don't take advantage of it. The story of the night was the Bruins offense going 3 and out, just couldn't get anything going. Great defensive performance for the Lobos, keeping their guys in front of them and really not giving up any big plays. In the second half, Scottre Humphrey would get banged up, and from there, Bankston and McKinney really came on strong and put on a great performance, proving that this is like a three-headed monster at the running back position for the Lobos. Huge props to number 58, Jamar Tassi. Did a heck of a job, lead block the rest of the night, making sure Bankston and McKinney really just drove it home. I think what UCLA's shown to be is a really undisciplined team. Too many penalties, false starts and roughing the passer calls, and just really not disciplined. And it shows why they're 0-3 to start the season. Don't take anything away from the Lobos. This is a great team. Eck and his coaching staff deserve huge props, and also the players. Limit turnovers, just limit mistakes, play sound football. Jack Lane probably doesn't get enough credit for what he's able to do. He manages the game well, limits mistakes, tries to keep the momentum going. Really great performance from Lane. 12 for 16, 152 yards, 2 touchdown scores. Of course, the running game was the highlight of this performance. Damon Bankston, 154 yards, a touchdown. DJ McKinney, 89 yards for a touchdown. And, Scottre Humphrey, who's doing terrific in the first half before getting banged up a little bit, 48 yards and a touchdown. He broke for a pretty good play. Defensively, they were pretty solid. They did not give up anything substantial to the Bruins. Really on the Bruins drives that they did score on, they got the help of, some roughing the passer penalty and sort of a PI call and helped them out a little bit to get into scoring position. But from the second half, they really did not do much. They pressured Nico well. They ensured there was no yards after catch once they did complete one. The biggest non-conference road win for the Lobos in almost 2 decades. If you're a Lobo fan, you're excited. There's plenty of buzz. Not just only this win, but the season so far. They were competitive against Michigan on the road. They had a good win against Idaho State at home, and now another big victory, this time coming on the road to a Big Ten team. Despite them being 0-3 and not what they used to be, it's still just a big win for Lobo fans, and the buzz is here. Lobo fans all over, getting excited, as they should be. For all the other Mountain West teams, they know what Lobo football has been for the past 2-3 decades. Not much success for them. So to start the season 2-1 and to look pretty solid so far and be competitive in all their games, huge props to Jason Eck and this new bunch of Lobo guys that I wasn't sure what they'd be able to do. And a lot of people in the conference were not expecting them to do much. They projected to finish dead last. Right now, they look to be one of the better teams in the Mountain West so far, and now they have a bye week coming up before getting ready for a huge matchup with New Mexico State. In-state rival at home. That's gonna be a huge game. I think they might be near a sellout for that game. Plenty of buzz around Albuquerque and this program, and it's well deserved. Just for Lobo fans to have some sort of success that they haven't seen in such a long time, and just optimism. Coming in, Jason Eck, they were excited, but they've sort of been there, done that. They're excited when, Bronco Mendenhall came over last year. They're excited when Danny Gonzalez took over the reins. They were excited when Bob Davie took over the reins, and none of those really panned out the way they hoped it would. To see this young bunch of, completely unknown players, mostly coming from the FCS ranks, to, thrive early on right now in the season, but just to show to be a competitive team and, really playing sound football despite the lack of, high-level recruits and all that. Just great job. Huge props to the Lobos thus far. Looking forward to their in-state rivalry game in 2 weeks' time. Take a bye week, rest up, come back in with the same energy, and continue on for hopefully more success the rest of the way. New Mexico over UCLA, 35-10 is your final score there.